Fun. How in the hell is everybody doing? Man Cave Sports back with a special Puck Wild playoff preview edition here tonight, as we are approximately 1.5 hours away from the Wild taking on the Vegas Knights, round one of the NHL playoffs. And got the panel here, my NHL experts, because those of you that know me well know that I am not one. Although I did play one last week while I attended game 82 and saw the winning goal happen right in front of me. And also the Wild clinch a playoff berth with 21 seconds left in a nail biter. But I will say this, and you guys know me well. I maybe go to a Wild game once a year, sometimes two a year. I'm not a big Wild guy, but I can tell you, my son and I, that was easily the best game we had, and most important game we've ever been to. Although I do remember back in like 82, I did go to a game where the Stars played the Blackhawks and it went to overtime, and we did not stick around for overtime because I think we had school the next day. But anyways, we will get right to everything. One thing that is taking place tonight that is of historical significance for the Minnesota Wild is that their rookie, Z Boyum, pronounced it right, will be making his NHL debut, and he is the first player in Wild history to be doing so. So I'm going to turn to Gary here. Gary, you probably know a lot more about Zeev than I do, definitely, but perhaps any of us. Talk a little bit about his game, what Wild fans can expect to see out of him in this series.
Zeev's a very offensive defenseman, and they throw that term loose, I think, a little bit. But this guy's coming off a college year where he was the top leading defensive scorer ever in college hockey, and he's gonna want to jump up in that zone and put the pressure on the score. That's what this guy does really well. I think it's going to be great for the Wild. That's what we need. We need more of that aggressive attitude in the back end. He's young. He was the 11th pick overall, and everyone was surprised he dropped that low when the Wild got him. So this is a
Right.
big deal for the Wild to have this kid.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to forego a year of eligibility just to get him in the playoffs. So for that to be said, you got something special when you have a guy like that jumping up into the playoffs that you trust. You're going to see a lot out of this kid. I'm going to let Brian kind of talk a little bit more about the power play stuff, but you're going to see this kid come up on a lot of special teams and things that you look at more mature athletes, more mature players to get, but that's how much they trust this guy, and that's how much they look at this athletic ability and what he can really do on that back end to help perform. So this is a special player, and we're gonna have fun watching this.
All right. Well, I like that you kind of uh, uh, led me right into my next thing. Brian, you want to talk a little bit about the power play for the Wild, because I know we talked about it a little bit before we hit the record button, but talk about the lineups, et cetera, because obviously the playoffs is a different set of circumstances. Sometimes they'll do some tinkering. It sounds like you guys had some opinions on that. So talk about the power play for the Wilder.
First off, Michael, our power play and our PK, our penalty kill. I mean, it's been pretty. I mean, I haven't sworn in a couple episodes, so I'm gonna just kind of. It's been abysmal. How about that? For the most part of the year, and pretty much through the Dean, Evison, and Heinze, and the Broad, all that. Uh, I think the big thing this year, or this is coming into this game, I hear from Mr. Michael Russo, who I have the esteem. I mean, I praise that guy. He's so connected, one of the best beat writers that anybody could have on a hockey team. He says that he's been spotting old Zeev, yeah, captain and being the point man on that first power play unit. And just as my esteemed colleague Big G had said earlier, this guy's an offensive puck handling, zone beating defenseman. I mean, if you're kind of an NHL fan, think Cale Makar from the Avalanche. I think he's going to pay big dividends right away. Just a little bit offense. I mean, we're cursed with that Wild power play. We're the one team in in the league where we're hoarse from saying shoot, and this guy's going to help us with that. And the first Israeli-born NHLer tonight. Let's go. Let's see what happens. I like that he's with Bogey, the guy from the Lightning. Good, stout, defensive defenseman. Let's see what happens. Maybe down the road, him and Faber being left and right-handed, or even Brodin. That puck could be moving a lot more. But I'm excited. Let's go.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about the goaltending, Mr. Steve. I know last week I was fortunate to witness a special moment where the Wild extended that game into overtime, and they put Flower out there, who, by the way, made some outrageous saves. And it was a very cool a moment, like I said, even for a novice like myself. But obviously, they're going to hope to ride a hot hand with Gus. Flower could get some duty depending upon how the series goes. What are you looking forward to out of the net there for the Wild going into the series?
You know what? I'm looking for Guts to come out and play confident. Looking for him to come out and really, he's gonna have to stand on his head a little bit. When we look at Vegas's firepower, I mean, and like we touched on, the inability for us to really do much with our special teams. He's really gonna have to be stout in the net. He can't get in between his ears. He's got to just be solid and play. Hopefully with Zeev coming in and we're being back healthy, then, we don't have to play such a perfect game for him to, he doesn't have to play such a perfect game to keep going. We've got, in Gus, you've got a guy that when he's hot, you can ride him. And when he gets in a funk, like at the beginning of the season, he was blowing people away. Like, okay, this guy's a brick freaking wall. And then all of a sudden, he kind of comes back to normal. He still finished with a .914 average and save percentage there, but I'm looking for him to be hot and be stout in the net and just not get him between his ears. Let the team play out in front of him. Don't get down. Don't try to think he has to win it all by himself, right? He doesn't have to be perfect. We just need him to be solid in net and then let the team play out in front of you. Again, if we can get to 3 and keep them under 3, obviously the math works out there, but that's the big line for this team. So if he can give up, if he stays under 3 goals, that should give us the opportunity to stay in it.
All right. Appreciate that. Gary, I am not a great NHL mind, so I will plead the fifth on knowing much about the Knights. I mean, obviously I'm very familiar with their game, what they've done in the NHL in their short time, but talk a little bit about what they bring to the table. Obviously they're the favorites in the series, but what does the average NHL fan or Wild fan that isn't familiar with the team, what do they have to look forward to out of the series from Vegas?
Big piece of Vegas is they're heavy, they're big, they're going to hit, they're going to be very physical. They got guys that can score. Eichel's on a tear. Eichel's a machine. Stone keeps coming back and I don't know how this guy he's like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator. He just keeps coming back and having these fantastic playoff runs. They're a tough team because they can score and they'll beat you up in the process. Good goaltending. This series is going to really show if the Wild can hang in with a contender. These guys are real contenders. I got to be honest. I think their aggressive style and the way they play, heavy back end, it's going to be a physical series. Wild got to bring it early. I think that's a big piece for this whole thing is Vegas is going to hit you often, and their special teams, man, they'll score. They're going to score on us. It's can we outlast that, right? Can we hopefully break that power play enough to keep you in the game? I think Vegas is going to bring a heavy hand.
All right. Appreciate that. Brian, what weaknesses do you see in Vegas that the Wild perhaps could exploit in this series?
Well, Big G brought up the goaltending, which he said, all right, or it's good. They don't have a Flower there. They don't have like back in the day when Flower won a title there. They don't have that guy. As he said, I like how he put it too. They're heavy. They're always going to back check. And they're always going to, and their special teams are dominant. The one thing that I'm the conspiracy guy, so let me put this on. All right. Does it look good? All right. I don't like their crowd. I mean, Vegas, if you've ever been to Vegas, I've been there a bunch of times. It's not usually like, hey, this is our team. We were born in Nevada. Let's go. It's usually kind of a corporate kind of bling blingy kind of crowd. I just don't really see them getting really after it like we do at the X, the Fuse Box. I mean, we're going to be nuts. I think that's one thing that we can help out with a little bit. Just taking that crowd out of the game, and as I've said all the time, we're dynamic. We are a freaking good hockey team when we're playing from ahead. We just gotta. I mean, we can't outlast them. You know, we need to score first, and let's keep them at bay.
All right, Steve, we know that Kaprizov and Ek came back here for their last 3 games, I believe. Do you think they had enough time to ramp up? Obviously, the first game they came back, they looked lights out. So you think 3 games is enough, and how do you think their impact will be in this series?
I think that's the big X factor for us, really. I mean, I know we've got Zeev in there. We know what we've got it. As long as Gus stays solid, he doesn't have to be crazy. Just stay solid back there. I think that's the big X factor, because now it allows everybody to kind of go back and play where they're comfortable, play where they want to be, right? You know, even Foligno was saying, you know, it was hard because they're missing guys. And hey, you know what? Moose is awesome. And you know what? You can just like step off. I love the Moose. He's amazing. He's a big grit and grinder guy, and I love it. But, you know, he mentioned about how, you know, it got hard because guys are expected to do things that maybe aren't normally in their nature. They got to step up and do extra things, taking extra shifts, you know, you've got to give more and more. And that, you know, that wears on you over the course of half of the season, essentially, right? So I think, you know, you add Jeek back, you've got Kaprizov back. Now you've got that. I mean, Kaprizov, it's so easy when he's sitting there in the OV zone, right? When he's just sitting over there and he just hits that same shot over and over and over again, you know, right at that face-off circle. It's a layup for him from there. And we just don't have that type of capability when he's not on the ice. So I think if, you know, for us to have a chance in this series, you know, we've got to, Kaprizov has got to be good. Jeek has got to be good. And then we got to have people like Boldy and others, you know, the secondary scorers that had become primary scorers the second half of the season. They've got to step up and chip in as well. So I think that's our big X factor. I think those are the guys that are going to have to go out there and take it for us. If everybody else plays just their game, on our team, I think those guys being back are what's really going to make a difference. I think the only change that we had was just everybody had to kind of get used to going back to doing what they had been doing previously. I think that was the adjustment, was just going back to what, you know, everybody get comfortable with what we were doing before those 2 guys got injured. So I think we're in good shape, and I think those guys are going to make a big difference in the series.
All right. Let's talk X factors. I'm sure each of you have one for the series, for the Wild. Gary, I'll start with you. Who's your X factor? Who's the person that, if they're going to pull the upset and win this series, who's going to be the guy?
Matt Boldy. Matt Boldy has to be the X factor. Eric, you know what you're going to get out of Eriksson Ek. You know you have to have from Kaprizov, but Boldy's got to be the guy who brings this much needed fire from a third guy. Like, I think Boldy's got to be that guy who has a special series. He's the one that they're going to put a lot of stock into coming. I mean, he's young. He's made a rise. That 4 Nations was supposed to be his coming out party. Now you're here. You arrived. You got to pull up on a stage like this and show everybody you're here. I think he's the one that, in my opinion, has got to be the one to come and say, I'm here to stay.
Be naughty.
Well, you know how I feel about it on every one of these. When you get to the playoffs, man, you got a good goaltender. Oh, anything can happen. Like, anything can happen in hockey. Yeah, it can't happen like that in baseball or basketball or football. It just doesn't. And yeah, the Gus Bus. And I love our line. I love our pairings. I think that's half the battle on a goalie standing on his head. How is defensive playing? I love our chances, and my X factor is what every NHL team's that's in the playoffs X factor is, their goaltender.
All right, Mr. Steve.
I gotta like downshift to my third one here because Voldy was one of my first choices because it's kind of where we struggled, ever since we've had Kaprizov, right? It's getting that third score, getting that third big time score. So just because of you, Mr. Naughton, I'm going to go with Mr. Foligno. And here's why. Like our esteemed colleague Gary said here, Vegas is a heavy team. They're going to beat you up. They're going to smack you around. Who's the guy that's got to haul that? Bogey and Foligno, right? Those two guys are going to have to answer the call when it comes up, right? Let's be honest. Who else is going to make him leave Kaprizov alone and stop beating him up? Those two guys are going to have to play. And the specter part of it is just because they can't just throw the gloves right away, right? Because now we're giving them the strength. We're playing right into their hands. So they've got to be able to be smart about how they play with the physicality, how they do the enforcement to keep these guys off of X, from the extra forechecks. So X not pissing blood every third game because of the sticks to the back of his kidneys, right? So I think, our Foligno, Bogey, they're going to have to be our X factor to help with the physicality and the heavy handedness, because otherwise they will just beat us into the ground.
Fair enough. All right, gentlemen, last but certainly not least, predictions for this series. Gary, I'll start with you.
Ooh,
Oh,
this is gonna be a good series. I'm thinking it's a 6-7er. I really think it's a long play. The X factor in this series has got to be special teams. How do the Wild handle special teams on both sides of it? I think this is a 6 or 7 game series. I love it. It's going to be a tough series, but you get to game 7, and I don't care who you are. You let the chips fall where they may in game 7s, and I hope it goes to game 7 because it's in the Wild's favor if it gets to 7.
So was that a prediction or a hope? I didn't.
I'm not, the prediction piece of this. We're going to learn a lot tonight, I think, when we see this game. We're going to learn a lot tonight, whether it's going 6 or 7. I'll tell you that. So I'm hoping to go 7. It gives
All
7.
right. So
I think the Wild got 7.
So you are pleading the fifth, or you don't want to go on record with a prediction. That's
I'm
fine.
nervous.
Okay.
Just nervous.
Okay.
Just
You
nervous.
don't want to let off any bad karma.
That's right.
There
Just
you go.
nervous about
I can appreciate that.
it. Yep.
Brian.
I'm no stranger to bad karma here, so giddy up, Wild and 7, let's go. And that's all I have to say.
Mr. Steve.
Yeah, it's got to be 6 or 7 games. I'm thinking game 7. This is going to be a tough series. The Wild hang in there, and we get some goal scoring. We can stand up to the physicality. You limit. We keep listing out if we can do this, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this, right? So the best thing that we can do is make this a long series. Try to tire them out. Get them tired of beating us up, right? We got a little rope-a-dope and tire them out from hitting us so hard. But I think we get this to 7, and I think it's the Wild.
Nice. I will just and we know I'm not a great hockey mind, so I'll just be like your typical Lakers fan and say Wild in 5. I got nothing to lose. I'll take the heat. All right, gentlemen, we're about an hour away from face off. And we will definitely be doing some more of these shows based upon this series. So be prepared for that. Sometimes on the fly, you know how we roll. But enjoy the game. I'm going to get this up so people can watch this before the game here. So it will be up on the YouTube. Check us out again. Appreciate everybody for watching. Gentlemen, that's a wrap. Go Wild.